Sly 4 was one of the first games I remember really anticipating as a kid. Anybody who's been a fan for as long as I have, I'm sure can remember desperately wanting the franchise to continue after Bentley threw in that completely unnecessary little time travel line to tease adventures continuing after Sly 3. One day, when I was fat and stupid and 11 years old and fat and ugly, I was on YouTube and just wung it and typed Sly 4 into the search bar. And to my ecstatic disbelief, found official Sly 4 footage shown from E3 2011. From there onward, I avidly followed along with the game's development, patiently waited through a delay.
When's it coming out? 2012.
Before finally, on February 5th, 2013, I got my greasy little hands on it. Within 3 days, I 100% did it both on the PS3 and on the Vita. It was great! Sadly though, my chunky little self was oblivious to what have since become glaring problems that the game possesses. And while I recognize that, revisiting this as an older and I hope wiser man, I still seem to enjoy it more than most people I think do. But even then, do I still consider this game ever being made a mistake? But before I get into my zesty takes, I'd like to thank you guys for your ridiculous support on my Ratchet Deadlocked review. You guys fuck. And also, there's like 200 new people here since that video. Sincerely, just thank you. I can't process that. Anyway, leave a comment to be featured in my next video, and my gratitude also goes out to my angelic patrons Stin, Dotman, Jesse, Brian, Angel, and the Foe 3. Obviously, the game is gonna have to do with that time travel thing, you know? It's in the name. Picking up where the trilogy left off, Sly 3 ended with the sneaky rat bastard faking amnesia after coming to a beautiful, albeit near-death realization to leave behind his life of crime for a life with his love, Carmelita. Until he didn't want to anymore.
But as time went on, the old itch came back, and I knew I needed to pull a heist.
Well done, Sly. Way to completely undo everything that happened at the end of the last game. And to make things worse, just as Sly's scouting out this museum to rob, Bentley coincidentally shows up anyway looking to reunite the gang. Because it turned out that since Bentley created the time machine, the pages of the Fingus were suddenly vanishing. Penelope also mysteriously vanished around this time, but I'm sure she has nothing to do with this, she's innocent. So now we needed to venture back to the time periods of the Coopers whose sections were disappearing and stop whoever was behind all this. Bentley decided to leave a communicator with Dimitri so he could update the gang on any more edits made to the Thievious Raccoonus. To make the time machine work, we'd need an artifact from the specific time period we wanted to go to, and coincidentally, the museum Sly was scouting out to pull a heist was home to the artifact we'd need to head back to feudal Japan. I'm sure you've noticed the little counter I've put in the corner by now. If you're up for a drinking game or have a death wish, take a shot anytime I mention coincidentally or conveniently in regards to the plot, because plot conveniences happen a deadly amount. The game then begins with a long-ass tutorial prologue, and it is really good. You get to play as all 3 members of the gang, and I'll get into how they feel to play later on. Eventually, we make it to the samurai dagger, and just after snagging it, Carmelita shows up and we make a getaway in the van, which, now that I write that all down, sounds pretty similar to how Sly's 1 and 2 started. Well, with that said, welcome to... So it's worth mentioning that Sly 4 wasn't actually made by the original developers Sucker Punch. By Thieves In Time's release, it had been 7.5 years since Sly 3, and Sucker Punch had moved on to creating the infamous franchise with the release of the PS3, which left Sly 4 to be developed by Sanzaru Games, the same company who did the HD remaster of the original trilogy on PS3, and Sanzaru also made Secret Agent Clank, which is apparently mankind's greatest mistake, so you know, this bodes well, doesn't it? Sly 4 follows the typical episodic hub-style jungle gym layout of environments we've become accustomed to since Sly 2. Wow, that was a mouthful. Only now with the newer, stronger hardware of the PS3, they've become even grander in scale and detail. The art style is also a bit different from the PS2 games, especially the cutscenes. The cutscenes now straight up look like a Nickelodeon cartoon, and while I do prefer the comic book style they absolutely nailed in Sly's 2 and 3, this still looks delicious. You know, Sly actually was supposed to get a TV show, and it was announced in 2017, but since the initial announcement, there's hardly been any updates, so the project seems to have been abandoned, and if you thought Sly 4's art style was bad, the show was gonna have them look like this, so I can't say I'm upset about the show being scrapped. The show seems to have been looking to use their shitty designs from the 2016 movie that also got scrapped. Okay, I'm getting off track. But while we're on the topic of art and animation, the actual animation in the game itself is leaps and bounds ahead of where the Sly trilogy was. Before it was pretty stiff and robotic, but now it's so fluid and there's a much wider range of expressions. Like, look at Sly here, smiling so big at Ryoichi. It's adorable. You wouldn't get that in the older games. And while the art style of the game itself didn't undergo as much a dramatic shift as the cutscenes did, there's still a noticeably more realistic direction taken, but even then, it does still feel very cartoony, and personally, I love the aesthetic they achieved here. I think the game's fucking gorgeous. Each hub is just absolute eye candy to me, especially Japan in 10,000 BC. My god! Best of all, you actually have incentive to explore these locations again because clue bottles are back! Of course, once you collect all 30 from a hub, you can unlock a safe, and rather than granting you a power-up that you have to toggle on like in Sly 1 or 2, these are little improvements to the game that are always enabled, like collecting twice the coins, reducing damage you take by 50%, and one has a safe, the Clockwork Eye, don't ask me how that's possible, just roll with it, which reveals the location of nearby clue bottles in your binocucom. So now everybody who kept bitching about how hard they were to find in Sly 2 can shut the fuck up! I'm just kidding, because even with that ability, it was still pretty hard to find clue bottles in this game, so I don't have a joke or anything, I'm just making a point. But that's not the only returning collectible, because treasures are back as well.
Treasure,
Back in Sly 2, you'd scavenge these from each area, sell them on ThiefNet, and never see them again. But now, while you still make a profit off them, there's actually a treasure area in each hideout where you can read all about the doubloons you collect. It's a nice little world-building detail, and I loved collecting as many of them as I could just so I could read about them and many of their video game Easter eggs. It was really fun attempting to bring them back to the hideout as well. They really test your knowledge of the area, and I sometimes made it back with only milliseconds to spare. Or, I lost the treasure when I was mere milliseconds away. Come on! And while we're on the topic of nice little extensions the team made to pre-existing concepts, I really love how they laid out hideouts in this game. Before, these were the safe houses, and that was it, which was fine. Nothing wrong about the way they were presented before. But now, not only have they added the treasure area, but they've also added the team van, which you can use to jump time periods as well as replay missions. And for shits and giggles, they even added a little ping pong area. Small details like this just make the joint feel more alive. It ain't much, but it's honest work. But that's not all, because last of all, they added a section to look at your newly revamped costumes.
And then you can move in and pickpocket the armor.
Or not. Costumes made a few appearances in Sly 3 as disguises, but they had literally no purpose beyond that. Well, besides showcasing Sly's Italian accent. But here, I really love what they did with them, as every episode in the game has a costume for you to unlock, with each costume having unique special powers. And on top of serving large roles in the stories of each episode, costumes are also used to open mysterious doors or bypass obstacles leading to more treasures. Understandably, I'm sure there are people who may take issue with having to jump back and forward throughout different time periods after having to wait to get specific costumes before you can access certain treasures, but I personally think that's a pretty cool touch. The first costume is from Japan and is this fireproof samurai armor which can walk through flames and deflect fireballs. The second one is this jailbird costume from the Wild West where you can use the ball and chain to roll around to avoid hazards and bonk these massive crates, or the third is this saber cat skin from the prehistoric episode which can pounce guards in these posts to jump long distances, as well as die. The fourth is an archer fit which can shoot arrows that lay out tight ropes to walk across to traverse long distances. I think it's safe to say if Sly played Skyrim, he'd be a stealth archer just like everybody else. And the fifth and final costume is a thief outfit. No, not what Sly's already wearing. And they gave this outfit a really cool introduction. Like the archer costume, Sly retains much of his mobility that he'd normally have not wearing a costume. And this one can slow the flow of time, and Sly also gets a big-ass scimitar, so that's pretty rad. Also, once you get this costume, bringing treasures back to the safe house becomes comically easier. However, the collectibles don't stop there, as there's actually a new collectible this time around, Sly masks, which the more you collect, the more you unlock little cosmetic changes like alternate costumes for each member of the gang and other cool jazz. Huge missed opportunity to have Murray's alternate outfit be as his guru fit from Sly 3 though. By the end of my playthrough, I collected about 40 of the 60 of them without really going out of my way to get them, but I do remember the other third or so being a bitch to collect, so I decided not even to bother with them. Because not only are these things hidden in the hub worlds, but they're also hidden in missions themselves that take place in separate locations away from the main hubs. So thank you Sanzaru for having the sense to add that mission replay system. Regardless, they're a nice addition to keep exploring the hubs that much more interesting. I dig it. Sucker. Speaking of things I dug like a filthy mutt.
Hello, you filthy mutt.
Shut the fuck up. I love how they also expanded upon hacking missions with this entry. We all know how Bentley's hacking levels went in the previous games. They were fine, albeit a bit repetitive, but now there's 3 different types of hacking levels. The first of which is much like those we're already familiar with, but there's some gimmicks thrown in there to spice things up, like different vehicles with unique strengths and weaknesses. The pink being the bulky strong one like Murray, the blue one being the swiftest like Sly, and the green one being the basic one that takes care of technical stuff like unlocking doors and whatnot. You know. Like the cripple.
Shrimp cocktail!
The second hacking style is a side-scrolling shooter, and this might be my favorite of the 3. Basically, there's like this whole level up system as you go along, and there's always a boss at the end. It's very simple, but it's very fun. And the final type of hacking level is motion controlled.
What are these, inverted controls?
It's fine. There weren't too many of these, which is good, because they would have outstayed their welcome pretty quickly otherwise. There's actually a spin-off title based on all these new games called Bentley's Hack Pack, which, I mean, I like the hacking stuff, but I don't think I could play a whole game based around it. Now, as for how all the characters themselves play, I think they might be the most fun they've ever been. Sly's very agile and athletic as you'd expect, and you can make some ridiculous jumps in this game that definitely weren't possible in the original trilogy. Bentley and Murray still feel very good to play as, though you only play as Murray for like 20 minutes throughout the whole game, but I'll get into how Sanzaru took a massive steaming shit on him later. You get to play as Carmelita in this game again, and she's great whenever you need to use her. And once you unlock her, you can play as her whenever you want, which is a nice option to have, but also ends up being a completely useless one. But now we gotta talk about the L's Sly 4 eats, so let's start with Murray because he eats a lot apparently, and they don't shut the fuck up about it. Look at Murray. He's a big boy. We all know this. But for some moronic reason, Sanzaru decided to make Murray's entire character this game that he's a fat fuck.
I also won the ramen eating championship, but that's another story. Like the Murray, you need to develop your reaction speed. And not just at the dinner table. A real fighter knows when to strike and when to back off. Like whether or not to have one more pepperoni and chocolate chip burrito.
Why don't you come back to the hideout and have a snack?
I'm not hungry. Whoa! So this is what it feels like. Did I get it?
Holy shit, if they want to throw in a jab once in a while, fine, but they spam these jokes. They'll make like 5 fat jokes in as many minutes sometimes. It's ridiculous. Yes, Murray likes to eat. This is nothing new. He even got ambushed a couple times in Sly 1 while trying to get a snack. And in Sly 2, he literally gets arrested while trying to find a snack. But eating was not his character. It was a character trait. Or in this case, character treat? Murray's character is that he went from being a bitch to finding confidence in himself and proving his strength to his friends and anybody who tried to step up to him. But he lost that confidence after Bentley got crippled.
What's wrong, Chief? Having a little trouble walking?
He blamed himself for everything that happened and then had to undergo his biggest battle yet and ultimately prove his strength to the last person that truly needed it to be proven to. Himself. Murray shows time and time again that he is far more capable than he realizes. He is strong, caring, determined, loyal. That's who Murray is. I'll give credit where it's due. They did try to give him a small arc in this game, and I'll get to that when the time comes, but regardless, I think Thieves in Time did a massive disservice to Murray as a character. And massive is not a fat pun, alright? Unfortunately, the bad writing doesn't stop with Murray, because like in episode 3, they make fat jokes every minute. In episode 4, Sly is constantly cracking jokes after everything Bentley says, and it's just so lame.
The trick is going to be finding some quality wood, leather, and metal.
Sure. Anything else you want me to pick up while I'm out? Eggs, milk, maybe some wax for your shell.
My instrument readings show this place is producing a lot more power than it needs for baking.
Maybe there's a secret donut facility.
From the level of security, I'd bet the farm it's Gallan's Cade.
You have a farm?
A big part of Sly's appeal is how effortlessly funny at times he is. And that's the key here. Effortless. They even get it right at times in this very game.
Beta systems, check. Dart ammo, check. Tire pressure, check.
Bentley, how many equipment checks are you going to do?
Just being prepared, Sly. A field operative can never be too careful.
Or watch too many spy movies, apparently.
They're good reference.
But here, it feels like he's trying way too hard to be funny. He's also supposed to be effortlessly cool, but instead sometimes he's just a fucking dork.
Yeah, what he said. Today, you were the hero, Murray, and don't you forget it.
He sounds like he's congratulating Murray for having the winning hit in a game of t-ball. But worst of all is how Sly reacts to Carmelita shutting him out for lying to her. It's just so not Sly.
Carmelita, what are you doing?
Relax, Ringtail. Just keeping tabs on the Dragon Slayer.
I don't recall you watching my back on any jobs.
Only when I'm trying to catch you. But I find Galeth charming. He has a good heart, even if he is a headstrong goof.
Then you better get going before Sir Goof gets himself captured again.
I do think at the very least it's an interesting concept to see Sly care so much and have trouble processing these new emotions. This is probably the first time in his life where he feels like he's losing his connection with Carmelita because Carmelita was always chasing him, but for the first time Sly's now chasing her. But the man is about to let his own family, who he's gone through so much trouble to rescue, potentially get captured again, or even worse, die because he's jealous Carmelita has a little crush on him? And that in itself is pretty weird, but like, you douchebag, don't you realize if that happens you will literally cease to exist? It's even more weird considering a core element of Sly's whole character is all about preserving and honoring his family's legacy. Think about everything this man has been through, from defeating Clockwork to defeating him or again, to almost dying trying to take back his family's inheritance from Dr. M, to the whole plot of this game, which is all about saving Cooper history. And now, this dumbass is gonna risk throwing that all away when it's his fault that he fucked up his relationship in the first place. Fuck! I think Carmelita would have understood if you just told her your family's entire legacy was being erased in front of your very eyes and would have been happy to help. But no! Sly now seems like a total dipshit. Carmelita also isn't safe from questionable writing. She's understandably very pissed at Sly for lying to her, especially when it was so unnecessary to. But then, like I said earlier, she's acting all flirty with Sly's ancestors, especially Sir Galeth, and it's just... the implications of that are really weird to think about. Plus, like I said, it's very understandable she feels the way she does after what Sly did, but salty ex-girlfriend is pretty much her whole character in this game. And on top of that, if you thought Sucker Punch was horny, just wait until you see how dirty these horn dogs did Carmelita. Horny bastards wish they could actually do her dirty. Yeah, her design before was supposed to be visually appealing, but they just went completely overboard here. I mean, just look at her waist. It's so tight, I'm surprised her guts aren't spilling out of her mouth. She's supposed to be a cop that looks like she got a slutty cop costume from Party City. I swear, Bentley's the only main character that doesn't go through any bullshit changes. I really can't think of anything I'd change about how he was handled in this game.
Shrimp cocktail!
Let's change gears now and get back into the story. After retrieving the samurai dagger, the gang traveled to the past to feudal Japan to help out Ryuichi Cooper, master ninja, and also the inventor of sushi, cause why the hell not? And we have to break him out of jail after he was imprisoned by El Jefe, a modern-day military general who somehow traveled back in time as well. Breaking Ryuichi out of jail was a fantastic mission, and a great showcase for how you can expect costumes to be much more utilized in the actual gameplay this time around. Now that Ryuichi's free, we get to see what he's like. Ryuichi is very formal and honorful, I guess, if that's a word. He's very poetic when speaking and uses proverbs and whatnot. He's cool, but I don't really have too much to say about his personality beyond that. Though there was a funny moment with him where Murray had to dance in this costume to distract guards and Ryuichi looked so confused, but by the end he was just like, This is kinda nice. You get to play as Ryuichi when you have to break into his sushi restaurant that was besieged by El Jefe, and you'll find that most of Sly's ancestors play basically just like Sly, but with a few special moves and abilities thrown in there as well. Ryuichi has a super ninja spire jump called the Leaping Dragon, where he can launch himself across large gaps, and he's also completely silent when running around, which makes it harder for him to alert guards. By the end of the episode, when we go to confront El Jefe, there's this massive blimp that shows up, which comes into play later. El Jefe sneaks up on Ryuichi and steals his cane, which thereafter Sly pursues him. Come on, Ryuichi, sneaking's supposed to be your gig. Here, we actually get some good writing! Wow! I really enjoyed the interactions these two had.
Hey, Cooper! What do you think of my statue?
Ha! Looks like a real pigeon magnet.
I wish we got an amazing platforming section here, climbing up El Jefe's statue, kind of like climbing the Clockwork Tower at the end of Sly 1. It's honestly baffling that we didn't, and instead it's just cut to the next scene, and we're at the top of the scaffolding. But at least here we get another wonderful interaction.
A magnificent likeness, isn't it, Cooper? Almost as handsome as the real thing!
Huh. Yeah, looks almost big enough to contain your overinflated ego.
Take a nice long look. I want you to remember the one who crushed you!
Looks to me like you've got nowhere left to run, El Jefe. Ready to face me now?
Sticking up for the family, eh, Cooper? Too bad you'll never see any of them again! Oh, Cooper, you've climbed so high, and now you're gonna fall!
We then move into a fantastic boss battle. You have to run and slide across anything you can to make your way over to El Jefe before meeting him at the top of different sections of scaffolding. El Jefe then tries to attack you with his elemental swords, whether it's electricity or fire, and you have to use your samurai armor to deflect his fireballs back at him, and then you can attack. This all goes on for a few rounds, and it's all really good stuff. Not to mention the scenery and scale is awesome, and the music is absolutely killer as you'd expect from a Sly game. After defeating El Jefe, we fail to get Ryuichi's cane back because these rats came down from that blimp we saw earlier and took it. We also get a little glimpse at who could be the mastermind behind all this. The rat bastards escape with their time-traveling blimp, but it just so happens the dumbasses dropped a sheriff's badge on the way, which we could use to travel to the Old West. How convenient.
As we prepared to make the jump back to the Old West, I found myself wondering how Carmelita was doing.
Oh, okay, she's gonna be in the Old West somehow. Got it. Once we make it there, we must help Tennessee Kid Cooper.
It took some time to locate him, but we eventually found him. In prison.
After this guy Toothpick ended up throwing him in jail right before what was supposed to go down in Cooper lore as the greatest bank robbery in history.
His arrest was the handiwork of the local sheriff, who had celebrated by posting his own picture all over town. Talk about an ego.
Says the guy who named the gang after himself. Dr. M was right. However, the robberies still occurred after Tennessee had been arrested, and while he was already in jail, he was still framed for committing the crime. Toothpick, like El Jefe, turned out to be someone who'd come from the modern day. And to keep myself from repeating that for every villain I talk about, yes, every villain comes from the modern day. Toothpick was actually a gangster from Eastern Europe who as a kid loved gold and cowboy movies.
Cowboy shit!
And he somehow ended up here. In order to free Tennessee from jail, Bentley concluded the only way to do so would be to do it from the inside, which meant Sly would have to get himself arrested. So after committing mass genocide, Sly was thrown in the stony lonesome with Tennessee, and busting him out was a really fun mission as well. Once we rescue him, we have to get his cane back, which isn't just an ordinary cane because it's actually a gun. Yeah, unlike Ryuichi, he doesn't have any special abilities. Just a gun which can fire standard shots or use crack shot mode, which slows down time and allows you to lock onto 6 targets at once. He's a great time to play as. I'm also really fond of Tennessee's character. He's just very lighthearted and zany, and I felt his voice actor did a great job with him.
Son, who is it you keep talking to?
I have a thing in my ear that lets me talk to my friend. And now he's telling me you need to carry some of that TNT so we can blow the gate.
Sure, I got voices in my head telling me to blow things up too. They've been right so far.
I do like all the ancestors in this game, but Tennessee's my clear favorite. Carmelita also randomly shows up after this. I know, I totally didn't see that coming either. After rescuing her, she explains that after chasing off Sly, she decided to poke around the museum more and ended up running into the mastermind behind all this, Cyril the Paradox, who is just totally anticlimactically revealed in this cutscene after keeping his identity all mysterious up to this point. It just felt unnecessary to show who he was at this point. They easily could have waited until the final episode to do so. Anyway, he ended up using his time machine to send Carmelita to the past, and here we are. The next move was to now defeat Toothpick and rob him of the gold that Tennessee was supposed to rob, and to do that, it meant it was time for a train heist. Which, by the way, the hub for the Old West, like the Canada level from Sly 2, has a train going right through the thing. But unlike in Sly 2, here you can actually slide along the tracks to get around the area, which I love. Anyway, so at the end of the big heist, Tennessee gets his cane stolen again, which leads into Sly fighting Toothpick, where you have to evade lasers and dynamite and turrets as you use your jailbird costume to trigger whistles by the front of the train to hurt Toothpick's ears. Toothpick then becomes giant and tries to squash you, much like Raleigh from Sly 1. Then you have to use your ball and chain to bash Toothpick into the train's furnace and smack him around. Once again, another really good fight. The victory is once again quite hollow though, as not only was Tennessee's cane not recovered, but the train's also headed for a broken bridge, so Sly has to jump to the van on the side of the road. But conveniently, the brakes aren't working, and conveniently, the boosters on the van that were being used to keep up with the train won't shut down either. So Bentley quickly throws Murray's Australian fossil necklace into the time machine, which sends the team whirling back over 10,000 years in time, and Carmelita is still pissed at Sly, so she storms off to be alone for a while when they get there. So apparently, a lot of people don't really like this episode, but I gotta be honest, I really like it. I don't love it because, trust me, I can easily admit it's an absolute clusterfuck to navigate, but I do still like it. And really, that's 90% because the environment itself is just so wonderful to look at. Take me home to the place I belong. I just love the scale of this place, and who the hell doesn't love dinosaurs and prehistoric shit in general? Doesn't make sense that in 10,000 BC there's still dinosaurs roaming around when they went extinct over 65 million years ago. But this is also a series about a talking, thieving animal, so real world logic does not apply. I also know that a lot of people don't seem to really like this episode's villain, the Grizz, because his backstory also seems to be pretty awfully similar to Dimitri, so I can see why. But I gotta be honest. Yeah, looking past that, I really love this guy. Look, he's just a dumbass bear who raps. And who doesn't love bears, especially bears who are dumbass rappers?
The Grizz gotta put some art on ice. Gonna dig it up later for a big fat price.
Like I mentioned earlier, he's also an artist, and a big part of his villainous schemes is that he makes prehistoric cave paintings here and then digs them up in the present day for a fortune, which I actually think is a really cool idea. Good job, writers. So we scope out Grizz's base, where we totally could have just pushed him into lava and been done with this shit, and actually end up discovering the first Cooper! Wow. Incredible that Murray's necklace just so happened to send us back to a time period where we could discover the first undocumented original Cooper. How convenient! Also, if even Sly never knew this ancestor of his existed, how did Le Paradox know to come after this guy? Did I miss an explanation for that, or is that a plot hole? Because if I missed that, that's on me, but huh? Anyway, you end up using the Sabretooth costume to assault the guards and set Bob Cooper free. Bob is completely different from the other Coopers. He doesn't speak English, and he's much bulkier than Sly or any of his other ancestors, so he doesn't have the nimbleness that the rest of them have. However, he does have the ability to scale huge walls, and I thought playing as him was always a pretty good time. He's also very charming. I love this moment where Sly and Carmelita are kind of flirting and Bob's just awkwardly standing between them. Before you really get to play as him though, Murray has to whip him back into climbing shape, and Murray trains him through an 80s style montage with all these unorthodox exercises like hitting home runs with penguins, slingshotting penguins, playing whack-a-mole with penguins, and sumo wrestling a giant penguin. After whipping Bob back into shape, Murray volunteers to do this rock climbing job, which defeats the whole purpose of all the work done to get Bob back into shape, but whatever. But after trying a few times, it turns out Murray can't climb the wall, which means Bob has to take over for him. For some reason, this makes Murray really sad, and this becomes the subplot for the episode. Later on, while Sly attempts to tail Grizz to get the code for his main fortress, the plan fails as Bentley can't crack the code in time. But Carmelita conveniently shows up in the nick of time, revealing that she's been doing her own work casing Grizz, and just so happens to have the security codes and full schematics to his mountain base.
You should all be clear on what needs to be done, so let's get out there and put this bear on ice.
Actually, good foreshadowing, because while infiltrating the base, Murray runs into and confronts the Grizz himself.
I'm tired of you Cooper chumps. The Paradox, everybody. All I ever really wanted to do is skate. That's right.
Okay?
No, it ain't okay.
I mean, all things considered, this is pretty random, but regardless, this is another pretty good boss battle. Grizz zips and slides in your direction trying to spear you before encasing himself in a rock barrier, where you have to push blocks of ice into him and then do quick time events where you copy his skating moves before clocking him with a flurry of punches. Yeah, I had a good time, and this triumph caps off a quite hollow storyline of Murray trying to gain his confidence back.
I guess this makes up for all my screw-ups lately.
Yes, all one of your screw-ups lately. After the battle, Dimitri then points us towards medieval England as our next destination to help a fellow Cooper, and conveniently, Grizz's crown was the perfect object to get us there. Medieval England was home to Sir Galeth Cooper, a valiant knight who had been reduced to performing in the circus as a jester.
To make matters worse, we still had no information about Penelope.
Oh, okay, so Penelope's gonna be in this episode. Got it! After gathering the materials for and stitching together the archer costume, Sly infiltrates the circus to rescue Galeth.
How does this sound for a stage name? The Amazing Cooperone! Huh? Right? It's good.
It sounds like bad Italian takeout.
That is astonishingly accurate. This was a fantastic mission. Shooting arrows to tightrope walk across pits, and trying to shoot arrows while avoiding cannonballs or hit moving targets kept things interesting. It was a lot of fun.
Why? Avoid those cannonballs at all costs.
Thank you, Mr. Obvious. These posters are a gallery. I don't think he's enjoying his job.
So you make fun of Bentley for saying something obvious, and then immediately say something that's also obvious. You fucking prick. Once Galeth was rescued, he explained that the area had been compromised by this mysterious Black Knight. Mysterious. I wonder whose logo that could be. Did my voice just crack like I was 12?
His origin was a mystery, but his power and technological might was impressive.
Technological might? Gee, I wonder who that could be! Penelope once disguised herself as the Black Baron, and now there's the mysterious Black Knight. Are they even trying to make this a twist anymore? It'd be a great twist if it wasn't Penelope at this point! Anyway, so you'll learn very quickly how bombastic and headstrong Galeth is. He's a really fun personality, much like Tennessee. Though his abilities, unfortunately, aren't as fun. So you know how Sly can use hooks to propel himself into the air? Galeth's ability is that he can do that, but higher and crash through things while doing so. What makes this even dumber is Sly has always been able to get pretty good height doing this, but then, just in this episode, they nerfed Sly's catapult to make Galeth seem better. Even if Galeth's ability itself isn't anything terribly exciting, there's this really fun mission where he has to take out the Black Knight's moat monster, which ends up being this mechanical hydra, and there's some wonderful platforming you have to do on the way up to confronting it. This is also the mission where that dumbass shit happened, so Carmelita followed Galeth and actually ended up taking the dragon on, and for being a giant mechanical hydra, I thought this would have been harder, but I actually only took damage once. I know. I'm so cool. Later on, Bentley tails the Black Knight through this blacksmith shop to try and figure out more as to what their plans are. And he ends up learning that this mysterious figure, whose subtitles are the same color as Penelope's, stole Bentley's time machine plans and pawned them off to the Paradox. The Black Knight suddenly stopped to step out of their armor, revealing the culprit to be...
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch!
No, it's Penelope. Was there literally any doubt?
If only Bentley hadn't been brainwashed by Cooper's honorable thief nonsense, we could have made billions in weapon design.
Oh my god, this is actually awful. Dude, Sly left you the Cooper vault. Do you know how much money's in there? There's a pirate ship in there. The Statue of Liberty is in there! Like Carmelita, she also got more sexualized, which was just really unnecessary. They took who was supposed to be a perfect little nerd for Bentley and went, perfect! Poor Bentley, though, he really took this rough, as you'd expect, which left the gang without him for a while as they tried to figure out a plan to take Penelope down. After gathering some explosives, the team stormed the castle and had literally no plan for what would happen after that, so Galeth charged Penelope, immediately got his cane stolen, dumbass! And Sly was then left to take her on alone. Penelope then entered this huge knight robot thing, which Sly could only attack by striking weak spots with his arrows. It was a fine battle, but a bit tedious. However, things weren't over just yet, as after the robot was defeated, it came crashing down onto Sly, and just as Penelope was about to kill him, Bentley showed up like Goku ready to save the day. And admittedly, I did find their petty, nerdy back and forth pretty amusing.
Bentley, your suit, is that my moat monster?
Yeah, what's left of it anyway. The design was adequate. I made some adjustments.
It was just a prototype anyway.
Penelope also explains why she betrayed the gang here, and
Why'd you do it, Penelope? You owe me that much at least.
Why? For you, of course. I had to make you see how things could be.
I'm not going to be one of the bad guys, Penelope.
Huh, bad guys? That's kind of funny, Bentley, seeing as how you work for a thief. But you know the most valuable thing Sly ever stole? Your potential. Together, we could change the world, but you're still chasing after honor for chump change. When are you gonna wake up?
So you sold out to La Paradox for the money?
No, you're not listening. He's just a means to an end.
Wow. And I thought you were smart. Do you really think he's going to just let you go? He owns you now. You're his puppet. And when you've served your purpose, he's going to cut your strings.
I told you, Bentley is the only main character who's normal in this game. Okay, so let's pick this whole thing apart, shall we? Numero uno. Yes, Sly is a thief, and being a thief comes with a negative connotation. But the whole point of Sly being a thief is that he only steals from other thieves. Those thieves being people who actually are bad. Back in Sly 3, Penelope joined this team of thieves without hesitation, but all of a sudden has a problem with it. Like she didn't even know what she was signing up for. Penelope also stole the victory in the Aces competition for years, so she's also a thief. Numero dos. Penelope also makes it a point to say that her and Bentley could change the world, when earlier she was talking about owning the world and making billions in weapon design. Again, the whole money thing is stupid since she was just given Sly's inheritance. You could say maybe she wanted to earn her own money and not have it handed to her, which fair enough, but that's kind of just looking for an explanation, not something that's clearly established. If you really wanted to reach, when Bentley and her first start talking, Penelope says she only works for the best, who at the time was the Black Baron, aka herself. So you could say she has ego from the get-go, but her acting that way also seemed to just be part of her whole act as the Black Baron. I hope I'm making sense when I say that, but even then, everything associated with her being the Black Baron, she drops without hesitation as soon as she has a chance to join the gang. So she's clearly very happy to leave that side of herself behind and be a team player. As I said, she talks about how they can change the world together, but none of what she says seems to be about changing the world in a positive way, yet criticizes Bentley for working for a thief, so it's like...
Bentley works for horrible people. Come with me, we will make billions in weapon design.
I don't think that's much better. Why don't you stop contributing to war and save the rhinos or something? It just makes her look dumb, and the way she went about trying to convince Bentley to leave his friends behind and link up with her was even dumber.
But Bentley, I was just trying to persuade you to see things my way by killing your best friend. You understand, don't you, my little schmookums?
The fact that she expected this would all succeed in opening up Bentley's eyes for a character that's supposed to be basically Bentley's intellectual equal is ridiculously stupid. I'm just saying, if she really thinks Bentley is wasting his potential living his life the way he has been, which is the one thing she said where I thought, yeah,
I can see that.
I think there would have been better ways to go about having that discussion with him than handing off his time travel plans to some evil skunk who wants to erase Sly's family from history and take over the world. And the fact that Penelope, again, somebody who is supposed to be Bentley's equal, thinks that this is all going according to plan for her and she won't be backstabbed by the mastermind black market treasure dealer makes her look really dumb. I think there was a way to make this work by making Penelope more of an anti-villain rather than a full-blown villain. Get rid of all the crap about money, because even though she says it's not about money, it is. She literally says it to herself right here, and she's not gonna lie to herself. And second of all, and most importantly, sure, let her be mad at Sly, but not like, fuck you, Cooper! They were friends before, so that just seems like a big reach. I get that she feels like Sly's stealing Bentley's potential, but Sly's still supposed to be her friend, so make her reluctant to fight Sly. Regardless, this isn't a direction I would have taken under any circumstances, but if you had to, I would have gone this way with it, because in my eyes, there isn't enough about Penelope's established character that leads me to believe that she would ever become a villain of this magnitude as she is now. If Sanzaru had taken this direction, it would have at least felt a bit more realistic and organic, and not like a cheap, relatively out of character twist for the sake of a twist. And to make matters even worse, the twist is shit because we all saw it coming anyway. Bentley cathartically proceeds to crush Penelope, and that's the last we see of her. So, well done. You did all that to her character for nothing. Good work. We then pretty abruptly move on to where we'll be heading next, ancient Arabia. And to get there, Carmelita conveniently revealed that while at the museum, she had taken this Arabian coin as evidence. This writing is almost as lazy as Salim al-Kupar, who is the 5th and final ancestor we end up meeting. And his personality is basically that he's a lazy fat sack of shit. Salim was part of a gang known as the 40 Thieves, which made the Cooper gang think they'd have a lot of backup for this job, but they soon find out that most of the thieves already retired. And when Salim and 3 of the last remaining thieves tried to pull one last heist, the rest of them were captured by Miss Decibel while Salim went into hiding. Miss Decibel is basically a mix of Octavio and Dimitri. She loved playing music, but was really bad at it, so of course people hated it. When people booed her, she had a temper tantrum, and in a freak accident, her trumpet ended up getting stuck in her trunk, which miraculously gave her hypnotic abilities, which then also makes her a mix of the Contessa. She's basically Miss Contessa Tavio Tree. That's disgusting. I think she's a pretty bland villain. At least El Jefe had some great interactions with Sly, whereas Decibel doesn't really do anything interesting. However, Decibel is the first villain we actually see with La Paradox, as they walk around talking about Salim's friends they captured and how they all need more food. So Sly uses his costume to pretend to be the food delivery boy, which allows the gang to find out where each of Salim's friends are. When pretending to be the delivery boy, Sly also brings back his
Italian accent,
which was actually a really nice callback. For the first mission, rescuing one of Salim's friends, you play as Salim, and he uses the climbing cobra technique, which allows him to quickly propel himself up ropes and chains and whatnot. And he even has a magic carpet that acts like a paraglider, which I thought was a really clever addition to his arsenal. I'd say out of the 5 ancestors, he's probably around the 2nd or 3rd most fun to play as, with, as I said earlier, Tennessee being my clear favorite. The second rescue mission has Sly and Salim make a run to the location while Bentley covers them with his chopper, and then Bentley hacks the computer, or hypnotic speaker thing, whatever.
Salim, you are in my dream too. You brought me many delicious snacks.
What is with you guys and all the food?
Thank you, Sly! The final rescue mission is Sly and Murray go through this shop.
Also, there don't appear to be any guards inside at the moment. I think this one is pretty straightforward. You and Sly go in through the front door.
Say it with me. How convenient. For real though, this was easily one of my favorite missions, as when Murray and Sly try to sneak their way over to Salim's friend, they fall into a trap which takes them down to this secret cove beneath the shop, and it's just such a cool area. And I feel like we don't really get a lot of missions with Murray and Sly working together, which made this that much more exciting. Sly gets to put his new thief costume to plenty of use here, which is great, while Murray does what he does best. Turret sections.
What a sick joke!
Yeah, that part I'm not as high on, but it by no means ruined this for me or anything. This mission's still great. So after rescuing Salim's 3rd friend, Bentley pieces together that Decibel's deal here is that she was using her hypnotic powers to make the thieves forge inheritance documents for La Paradox, which would make him royalty in the present day and of course grant him immense power. Decibel was scheduled to be handing off the documents to La Paradox beyond this funky looking door, which you'd have to breach to stop this from happening. And Bentley's desperate plan to create a divergence to distract all 3 guards was to have Carmelita do a belly dance.
Possibly your best plan ever, Bentley.
No, Sly, don't encourage him! God, I've always hated this so much. Nope, not touching the controller. No shaking for you, you fucking apes. On the other side, the gang find a massive loading dock for LaParadox's big old blimp, and LaParadox reveals himself to be on it, which, like I said, this could have been the grand reveal as to who was actually behind all this, but nah. Also, LaParadox and Decibel were kinda in a relationship, but he just dumps her here after he somehow got Salim's cane. She was supposed to get back to the present with him, but now he's just noping out of there before Sly can stop him. Decibel then tries fighting Sly in what is a pretty lengthy battle. You have to use your thief costume to slow down time so you can keep jumping and running across to her so you can smack the shit out of her. Once she's lost half her health, you have to lure her into running into these radar dishes, which finishes her off. LaParadox then reveals that he also somehow kidnapped Carmelita and then flees to the present day.
I believe there is a perfect saying for this situation. The fat lady, she has sung.
My God, Sanzaro loves fat jokes. By this point, LaParadox had pretty much won. He kidnapped Carmelita, had each of the ancestors' canes, and due to how much he fooled around with the past, ultimately ended up becoming king of the world. Here, we finally get LaParadox's backstory, and it's revealed that he also comes from a long line of thieves. Years ago, Sly's dad pulled off a heist to snag the world's largest diamond. However, LaParadox's dad was already looking to steal it and frame Sly's dad for the crime. But since Sly's dad got there first, LaParadox's dad was left at the scene to be arrested. Since he was in jail and couldn't show his son how to be a proper thief, Cyril kept getting himself caught. When Cyril was in prison though, this is where he really learned to be a great thief. After leaving prison, he used his contacts he made there to steal treasures from around the world while posing as an art collector. And that museum from the beginning of the game is his museum. So, despite him ending up doing pretty well for himself from what he learned in prison, he still hated the Coopers so much that he wanted to erase them from history and take over the world. That seems a little extreme. But while that seems overboard, I think I tolerate him more than a lot of people do. He's definitely the worst big bad in Sly and quite honestly one of the weaker villains in general, but he made me exhale out of my nose a couple times, so I guess he's not totally unredeemable.
Why, you filthy, backstabbing, two-timing scoundrel!
Flattery will get you nowhere.
So the gang's plan here was to of course rescue Carmelita, get the canes back, and stop LaParadox. Once aboard the blimp, Sly walks into an obvious trap that even he says is obvious, but walks towards anyway because he's a dumbass. But that was a nice little callback to Sly 1, so GG. Bentley and Murray show up with backup in the form of all Sly's ancestors that you'd met, and you get to play as each one of them one last time as you retrieve their canes. I really liked this.
What about Sly?
He's on his own for now, Murray, but I'm sure he'll be fine.
Right? Wrong!
After getting the canes back, we catch up with LaParadox, who is preparing to send Sly and Carmelita through a time tunnel, which is basically this infinite wormhole that they'd be trapped in forever. LaParadox explains that he went after all the ancestors and not just Sly because he wanted to erase the Coopers from history. You know, if you just killed Bob, I think that would have solved your problem. The homie Tennessee saves Sly and Carmelita before going back to the past, and LaParadox then accidentally summons the wormhole, which begins to tear the blimp apart. With that, the gang retreat, and it's time to fight LaParadox in a final climactic quick time event. The final fight is a quick time event. I don't have any bad jokes I'd like to make. This just sucks. But the two did end up having a really good dialogue towards the end of the fight where Sly pretty much says exactly how I feel about LaParadox.
So, before we finish this, let me get one thing straight. You came after the Coopers because of what happened to your father?
No, you imbecile! I came after the Coopers to prove that LaParadox is the greatest thief who has ever lived. Is there any doubt? Ask yourself this. If the Coopers were truly the greatest thieves in history, and I have stolen their most valued possessions, then what does that make me?
An idiot? You had it made. You could have been the biggest thief of all time, but you had to target my ancestors and blow your own cover. You exposed your operation because of your ego. No Cooper would have done that. And for the record, can you really say you stole the canes? Seems like your friends did all the real work.
Wow, even Sly knows LaParadox is a bad villain. The best villains are the ones who speak a level of truth or at least have understandable motivations. But LaParadox is just an idiot. Take Dr. M for example. His motivations and his actions were understandable. He never felt he got the credit he deserved, so we thought the Cooper Vault should be his inheritance. Does that justify what he did? Trying to steal the Cooper wealth and kill Sly? No. But I get it, because in his mind that's a relatively equal justification for the wrongdoings he felt were committed against him by Sly's dad. And seeing the lengths he would go to trying to fulfill this mission and ultimately choose to die inside the vault was tragic because it was clear he had nothing else to live for. But the paradox, I don't feel anything towards. Again, I don't absolutely hate him like a lot of people seem to. I just kind of scoff at him because he's a moron. As Sly said, he had it made. It's not like his life was in shambles. If he just came after Sly, that would be fine, but to come after Sly's entire family tree and take over the world because Sly's dad got his dad arrested? It's just an overreaction. And yeah, he says that he did it not for revenge, but to prove he was the greatest thief ever. But earlier, he also says it was for revenge, so what are you doing? After being defeated, the Paradox begs for his life, and Sly, for some god-forsaken reason, helps him up. And the Paradox then steals Sly's paraglider.
You won't get away with this. I'll find you.
I know that wasn't supposed to be funny, but Cyril jumps off the blimp, gets hit by a plane, and Sly is left stranded in the sky. After miraculously surviving the fall, the Paradox was thrown in solitary, everything with the world and the Thievious Raccoonus went back to normal, but Sly was still missing, and he never shows back up. And that's how the game ends. Yep. But if you beat the game 100%, you get to view a secret ending which sees Sly stranded in Egypt. So at least we know where he is? But that's still the last we've ever seen of him. It's been almost 10 years, and the last we saw of Sly was him stranded, presumably, in the distant past. Apparently, Egypt was going to originally be included and was scheduled as the first episode to take place in Thieves in Time, but had to be scrapped because of size limits on the PS Vita. Fuck you. The episode was then intended to be released as DLC so we could see Sly be rescued from Egypt, but Sony didn't give the green light on that for unknown reasons. Yeah, that is how the Sly Cooper franchise ended. Which leads me back to the question. Was Sly Cooper Thieves in Time a mistake? First of all, before I go on to everything I'm about to say, I need to emphasize, I do not hate this game. It's just disappointing how it ended. There's genuinely a lot I love about Thieves in Time. If you want some good old classic Sly Cooper gameplay, if you love running around the hubs, pickpocketing, and collecting things, and the gameplay's all you really care about, you'll probably have a good time. Because as for how the game plays, it's a fuck ton of fun, and I truly can't stress that enough. And while I thought some of Sly's ancestors' movesets could have used a bit more fleshing out and some could have used a bit more playing time at all, overall, they were good fun to meet and play as, so that's a win. The bosses were for the most part fantastic. The new hacking missions were some much needed renovation of the formula. The in-game animation was much better than it was in the trilogy. The voice acting was phenomenal, and the music was right up there as some of the best the series has to offer. You could make the argument that Sly 4 is the most fun Sly game to play overall, and I wouldn't even disagree. Which makes it all the more tragic that the writing causes all the good this game does to be thrown to the wayside. And like I've said, the writing does have its moments. When it's good, it's really good. But for me, even the best writing this game has to offer doesn't come close to the emotional resonance the trilogy offered, and simply put, lacked the mature concepts the first three games juggled with, mainly 2 and 3. You had Murray proving himself against Rajan, Bentley saving Sly and Murray, the gang losing the van as well as all the clockwork parts, Bentley getting crippled, Murray sticking up for Bentley against Octavio, the Panda King's unlikely alliance with the Cooper gang and the struggles he and Sly both went through to come to terms with that, Sly almost dying at the hands of Dr. M, Dr. M's fast fascinating parallels drawn with Bentley, the climax, pun intended, of Sly and Carmelita's storyline. So many great moments, character arcs, and resolutions that felt earned, deserved, and came to natural, realistic conclusions. Sly 4 tries to create emotional moments and arcs, but they ring hollow for me because they feel artificial, nonsensical, or straight up out of character. Sly feels more immature and at some points even unlikable. Murray's whole character's been reduced to being a fat fuck. Carmelita's being over-sexualized, incredibly unnecessarily, by the way. I am not shaking the controller! While also having her character reduced to angry ex-girlfriend. Penelope's betrayal of the gang, while if you squint hard enough has some validity to it, was woefully executed. There's an absurd amount of conveniences to keep the plot going, and the Paradox was a very weak final villain. There truly is a lot I could give a pass to in this game. In fact, I'd be lying if I said I'm never going to play this game ever again, because it's honestly too much fun to play to pass up forever. But as for how it contributed to the legacy of the franchise, that fucking ending is the drizzling shit. It's criminal, no pun intended, that they pulled a cliffhanger ending like that when they weren't even greenlit a fucking sequel. And even then, when their solution was to hide it behind a DLC, I think that's kinda scummy anyway. And because of that, here we are nearly a decade later, still stuck with this bullshit. If the game just ended with the Paradox falling right off the blimp, going to jail, or dying, Sly paragliding down and reuniting with Carmelita and his friends, this game would have been so much better. But unfortunately, like they say, it's how you leave them. And considering the circumstances, I'm quite confident in calling this one of the worst endings to any piece of media ever. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go build my own time machine to see if Sly 5 ever comes out and they correct this painful mistake.
Too slow, turtle.